guys, welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. It's great to be with you. It's been a while since I've done one of these intros in my episodes, but things have been kind of crazy around here between, finishing up producing the first season of the show. I just had my third child about a week ago, which has been great. Everybody's healthy. Mom and baby are healthy and happy, and we're blessed to have another baby boy in the family, so stoked about that. And leaving for Alaska in just under 3 weeks here, hopefully for some caribou redemption, and I'm super excited about it. So I've been able to keep the podcast rolling, but the intros haven't been there, so I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for those of you who have been listening for a long time. Welcome if you're new. Hope you guys have been enjoying some of the different topics I've been dropping out there and stuff. We're still going to always remain true to the main focus of the podcast, which of course is hunting and spiritual formation, and sometimes we talk about fitness a little bit, although we haven't as much lately. Looking forward to a great upcoming season. I hope you guys are too. It is August, so there's already some hunting seasons kicking off around the country, which is super cool. My buddies out in the Pacific Northwest are out bear hunting now, the Pea and Wild guys and other friends out there. So if you are hunting or gearing up, I wish you the best. It's an exciting time of year. You can see the first signs of fall starting to hit. You can see some acorns hitting the ground. You can see some pine cones torn up by squirrels, at least where I am, which whenever I see pine cones demolished by squirrels laying around the ground, I know we're getting close. So I'm super excited. I've been learning how to elk call, update on that. I can actually make a decent sounding bugle now, and my cow call is sounding really good. I'd show you guys, but it's not here handy. But been learning how to elk call, been getting my gear situated, been gearing up, been shooting my muzzleloader, my CVA Acura, been e-scouting on Onyx constantly. Getting pack rafts tested in my swimming pool, different shelters, just a lot of exciting stuff and a lot of cool gear that I'm going to be sharing with you guys as well. But this episode, I'm actually talking to my buddy Jeremy from DeadHorse Outfitters, based in Alaska, and my friend Jon Bash, who's going with me to Alaska, who's actually going to be the main cinematographer on this hunt. I kind of like to act as the second cinematographer and, also obviously host. But we're both going up there with tags, which is exciting. So hopefully, we'll be coming out of this with a 2-tag episode, 2 tags filled. Lord willing, like I said, as most of you guys probably have heard me talk about, my first ever backcountry western trip was in Alaska on a DIY walk-in caribou hunt, which was, in air quotes, unsuccessful, but in so many ways it was a huge success. It was a life-changing trip, and the reason I'm sitting here talking to you right now is because of that first trip to Alaska. So I'm optimistic and praying that, this time around I'll actually able to put my hands on a caribou. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, and Lord willing, we will be doing that. So really looking forward to that. And this episode, like I said, is with those two folks, and we're really doing a deep dive onto this caribou hunt. So, I think it's exciting or interesting information, whether or not you have a caribou hunt lined up or if it's a different caribou hunt than this. This is the time of year when folks are heading out for caribou. So, it might not be a huge segment of the audience, but I know some of you out there listening probably are gearing up for caribou or looking forward to it the next coming couple years, or maybe just dreaming of it. Either way, I think it's a cool episode. We're basically, as I've mentioned before, we're getting DeadHorse is taking us up the Ivashak River, between 30 and 50 miles, depending on the water conditions and how far they can get us up there. And then we are going to hunt, hopefully, Lord willing, fill 2 tags, and then break out the alpaca rafts, and float out. So it's going to be an epic adventure. Hopefully I'll have a little better experience with Packraft this time. But looking forward to it. And so this podcast, we just kind of jump into the details of this hunt and caribou hunting in general, and a lot of really, good gear questions and other topics related to hunting in Alaska. So I think it's stuff that's really cool for anybody who's a hunter, honestly. So hope you enjoyed the episode. I did want to give a quick shout out to a new friend. His name is Damien V. Tran. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I probably am. But you can find him on Instagram at pixels.arrows.n.bullets. So he basically sent me in the mail this really cool patch that he designed and made. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. I'm trying to get it in focus here. There we go. And it's a really cool patch that he made, and just kind of out of the blue offered to send me. It says shooter of pixels, arrows, and bullets. And it's got like a camera and bullets and arrows on there. It's a really cool patch. So anyway, I just want to say thanks to Damien for sending me that. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. But, it's not too often people actually send me stuff. So thank you for that patch. And if you guys go check him out on Instagram, he's a U.S. Marine Corps vet and seems like a great dude. So check him out and maybe pick up one of these patches. Other than that, guys, I just want to, one more time ask, please continue to share the show. That's the best way you can help me and support what I'm doing, really, is to share the podcast with friends and family. Put it on your Instagram, give me a shout out, tag me on stuff, send episodes to folks, talk about it with your friends and family. Just share the show. And also, please write me a rating and review if you can. If you haven't yet, give me a 5-star review. And take 30 seconds to write a little blurb about why you like the show. It really helps me out. If you do that, I will give you a shout out next time I do an intro like this, and I'll send you some decals in the mail as a thank you for that. And like I said, I'm really working hard to continue putting out these podcasts. I currently, don't make a dime off of doing it, but it's a lot of work. But I wanted to offer, hopefully some entertainment and some encouragement and some helpful information to you guys, free of charge. So I think it's the least you could do, to be honest, to leave me a rating and review. So please go over and do that. Give me a 5-star review, write me a little rating, and I will send you a decal in the mail. So I appreciate it, guys. Other than that, make sure to, if you got Sportsman Channel, check out the Hunter's Quest TV show that airs. The best time to catch it really is Monday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time or Saturday at noon Eastern Time, again on the Sportsman Channel. And, go to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe there and follow me on Instagram at The Hunter's Quest. But especially go subscribe on my YouTube channel. I'm really trying to build that audience. I'm going to be releasing web versions of my episodes after they air on TV. So you can check out my hunts there as well. But like I said, the amount of work I'm putting in, if you guys do like what I'm doing, if you want to help support, it's very easy to just go over and hit that subscribe button, leave me a review, follow me on Instagram. It's not too much to ask. And share the show, guys. I really appreciate it because that's how I continue growing and I'm able to continue doing this and bring you guys the content I'm doing. So thank you in advance for doing that. And without any more rambling from me, let's just jump in here to my conversation with Jon and Jeremy from DeadHorse, and let's check it out. See you guys next time.
You're a pro at this point. I just listened to your Blurred Creatures podcast on the drive up here.
Oh, did you like it?
I loved it, dude. Luke got me dialed in on those guys.
Yeah, dude, me too. Well, we'll have plenty to talk about there on the Tundra then. But
we'll probably see some stuff.
Hopefully. Maybe, I don't know, maybe. But anyway, Jeremy, I was just commenting that Jon is my partner / And then I was like, I don't know what to call you because I never really liked being called a cameraman. I know some people like it, some people don't. So, but John, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's a little bit different when you got a tag in your pocket. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
that definitely. I completely understand. When we're just behind the lens, the tag along cameraman is the role. I mean, that is. I wish
Yeah.
there was a sexier name.
You
Video
said
Jedi. I don't know what we're going to go with here,
you
but
said storytelling compadre before you started rolling. I like that.
I mean, I
yeah,
think I think you go back to hunting partner once you put the tag in your pocket. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yep.
yeah.
So
I mean, if I'm the only area that I draw the line in the sand between hunting partner and cameraman is when someone asks you to put a quarter on your back with your camera gear. I mean, at that point, you're like, all right, you're part of the. You're a hunting partner at that point versus just a cameraman.
All right. Well, I just thought it was an interesting question that we almost didn't roll on, but welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. If you're out there listening today, I'm joined by my storytelling compadre, Jon Bash, and Jeremy CONN from DeadHorse Outfitters, right?
Yep.
So how you doing tonight, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. So you lived up here in Virginia near me, and now you moved, correct?
I did. As a matter of fact, we just signed for our house we're down in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
So we just signed for our house yesterday.
Okay.
So
how you like it so far?
It's good, man. It's been crazy. We picked up the house and moved, and we left Virginia on the 22nd and got down here and unloaded trucks and signed for the house, and now it's back to the move in and resituate and unpack and putting furniture together, and
that's
so
stressful.
on and so forth. Plus, I'm working during the day, so
yeah, moving is not fun. So so tell me real quick. And so you have this transporter company in Alaska, and you also work in the lower 48 half the year. So how does that work?
So I work in the lower 48 the whole year, or wherever. Okay. So I'm active duty military.
Okay. Which branch again?
Army.
Okay. Thanks for your service.
I do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I do everything for the business that can be done anywhere in the world. So obviously phone calls and emails and booking of clients and the books and all the stuff that I can do digitally. And then my business partner, Jeff, formerly known as Hook, he does all the legwork up north, all the Department of Fish and Game meetings and everything else with all of the state entities and vehicle, boat maintenance, transportation.
So have you spent a lot of time up there?
I don't. As a matter of fact, I haven't been back up north since 2018.
Okay.
That's the last time I've had an opportunity. So unfortunately for that, I'm on a cycle in the military where I'm a summer mover.
Gotcha.
So typically during this time of year, I'm PCSing every couple of years. And so it just makes it hard. And I spent a year in Korea. That was in 2019-20. So that was difficult. And then the year after that, I moved again. And then it's just one thing after another. So trying to get back north has been very difficult.
Yeah, it's not, especially up where you guys are operating out of. That's way up there. It's not even.
Yeah.
So. Well,
not a quick trip.
Yeah. So I guess that changes a lot of my questions because I was going to ask you a lot about stuff up there, but I don't know.
Maybe I would answer a majority of it. I spent 6 years up there. So.
Yeah, I was going to say about Alaska. You just haven't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you moved from up there.
I did. So we moved. I spent 2010 to 2016 in Alaska, and then they moved me to San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
16 to 19. And then here I am back in San Antonio again.
Okay.
So I've been trying really, really hard to get back to Alaska. Obviously, the Army does not see it fit to send me back.
Yeah. You can't exactly pick where you're going to go.
No, I don't have any choices.
Yeah. So, so where were you stationed when you were up there?
Fort Wainwright, so in Fairbanks.
Okay, cool. All right. I've been to Fairbanks once. Have you been up there, John?
Yeah, I got up to Alaska for the first time a couple of years ago for a fishing project with a group out of the Pacific Northwest, group of YouTubers, and it was epic. But this is my first time going up there during hunting season. So, it's going to be a little bit different than I'm sure still mosquito infested, but definitely going to see some different terrain than we were in down by Denali. You know, we're going to be a considerable distance from that, damn near a whole country's distance.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, I
yeah,
think from Denali, if as the crow flies, we may be about 575 miles north of Denali, maybe 600
Okay.
miles.
Okay.
wow.
So, what did you do in the Army up there? I'm just curious.
I'm a medic.
Oh, nice.
Um, so during that time frame, I came in 2010. I was with 1 5 Infantry Battalion. We deployed 2011, 2012 to Afghanistan.
Oh, wow.
And then I had
Dang,
an
dude.
opportunity. We were supposed to go back in 2014, so they opened up the opportunity for people to stay, and that's how I got that 6-year stint. And then they kiboshed that, so we didn't go back in 2014. We switched mission sets.
Okay.
So, but moved from the infantry battalion to a medevac battalion, and then came down here to what's called Brooke Army Medical Center, which is one of the largest DoD trauma one facilities in the Army.
Wow. So, what was that like, man? Being like, I guess, an active war zone as a medic.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, it is what it is. We'll go with that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely don't want to pry, but that must have been a wild experience for sure. Well, so, being a medic in Alaska. So, did you tell me about how you guys started DeadHorse and a little bit about your partner and all that stuff?
Yeah, so I have 4 kids, and Fairbanks has a nationally competitive cheer company or cheer competition, I guess, or I don't know what the
Like
best way to say
cheerleading,
it. So not like football,
like competitive
basketball,
cheerleading.
cheerleading, but like cheer and dance, right?
Uh-huh.
So my girls got into cheer, and Hook, Chef's daughter is in cheer.
Okay.
And so we linked up that way. And so we met honestly through hunting. He owns a couple gold mines and was like, hey, if you want to come up to the gold mine and hunt, you guys are welcome anytime. Bring the family.
Oh, nice.
And so that's kind of how that rolled. And then one thing led to another. Grew to be really great friends, and started talking about, at that time I was about 13 years in the Army. And I was like, man, chatting about what we were going to do with retirement, or what I was going to do with retirement. And Hook's been he's been up in Alaska his whole, should we say, adult life. I think he moved up there around the age of 19 or 20.
Okay.
And so he's done a lot of guiding and fishing, and fishing guide and crabbing, and big game guiding. And so we started chatting about opening a guiding business. And next thing you know, I'm PCSing, and it was just a retirement dream down the road,
Yeah.
right? Like that
Right.
was just a thing. And then we started looking into transporting. And in 2018, he called, and we had a window of opportunity. And I was down here in San Antonio, and he's like, man, I think we should pull the trigger. I was like, dude, I'm still in the Army.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in Texas. Like, how are we gonna play this? He's like, we'll figure it out, And in 2018, we ran, I don't know, 5 clients that year with the boat. We rented a boat, and we used what we had. We had trucks and tents already from being up there, and trailers. So we used what we had to get stuff north, and just grew year to year, and started buying new equipment, and here we are 6 years later,
Nice.
with new boats and trucks and equipment, and a second company from that the wives have for the rental company, for all that gear, and so we've kind of grown, and still looking to grow, but a lot of that won't happen until I get up there and can really help.
Right. Boots on the ground.
With the boots
Well,
on
business
the ground.
must be pretty good, because when I called, you're like booked for like 2 years out or something, right?
I am. We're booked to 2026 right now.
Oh my goodness.
I have been for about 4 months. 25 closed about 4 months ago, and our 26 calendar will open the 1st of October.
It's getting nuts to hunt in Alaska.
It is.
That's wild.
It's the over the counter, black market rush at this point of wherever's left that you can
Yeah,
log on and plan something, or not have 8 years of equity or plus into it.
It is.
that's true.
Yep.
That is true. You
Yeah,
got
a
a
lot of your
lifetime
lower 48
experience of the
states are
lifetime
going.
with over the tag.
Yeah, a lot of your lower 48 states are going to, just like you said, people are spending an entire lifetime trying to get points for a hunt, where Alaska is not that way.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's so it's kind of weird. Most people like Alaska is something you kind of dream of. I was introduced to Alaska very early on, so I have kind of a very special relationship with Alaska. It was like the first trip I ever did was like a public land East Central Alaska thing. So, and then I went to Kodiak. So this will be my third time, but this is a completely different part of of the of the state. But yeah, it's when I started putting this trip together, it became apparent that like you can't just like for the most part just call a guide, and like go that year or something. It's a multi-year planning thing. Fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to look at it, whatever, it just is what it is. We were able to work something out because I told you, hey, take us up on an off day and we'll float out ourselves, which is not kind of your normal gig.
Not at all.
So we want to talk about that a little bit. But before we get too far into it, I do want to just let Jon introduce himself a little bit to the audience and to you, and just so we can hear a little bit about your backstory too, Jon.
Man, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm thankfully the semi-talented innocent bystander in this group. You guys are getting all the logistics going, and you guys are going to be, putting some good animals on the ground. Hopefully, I get a chance. I'm Jon Bash. I am a part owner in a production company called Ghost Cat. Our headquarters is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I spent the majority of my career working in the outdoor industry. As early on as early internship days out at Orvis, living in Vermont at their headquarters.
Oh, nice.
And ended up at a big agency in Oklahoma. That's what brought me there. The agency at the time was named Brothers and Company. Now they're named Idea Ranch. I mean, from an outdoor perspective, there's a handful of, advertising agencies that specialize in outdoor clients and work with the pinnacle of brands, and they're in the top 3 to 5. So genuinely, I would love to say that, all my love for the outdoors and my love for videography, I would love to say that it was a day one thing, but I didn't pick up a bow until I was 18, and I didn't pick up a camera until I was 24.
Cool. Oh, wow.
So everything that
that's
has
interesting.
progressed over, the past decade, a lot of it was because of the stewardship and just the expertise that agency, some of the principles there that they, were grateful enough to teach me. And obviously, the past 5 years, through mutual contacts. I mean, we met through Luke Dusenberry, who in my, if I had to pick 5 people who were some of the most talented shooters.
Oh, he's amazing.
In the backwards. He's one of them. And there's,
I love working with Luke, man.
There's so many of us. I say, like, the most beautiful thing about the world of content, videography, photography, whatever it may be, is the gear is so much more accessible now than it was 10 years ago, price point wise, quality wise.
Yeah.
And, there's so many people that can do it well. I'm a dime a dozen from a videographer, storyteller. I know there's a lot of people worse than me. There's a lot of people better than me. I hope I'm rising the ranks, as my hair gets grayer and I put more miles on my boots.
Hey, most of the time, it's just effort and attitude, man. Just like anything else.
Are you using drone? Have you toyed with that yet?
We've got plenty of drones. We'll have one up there. We'll carry the extra weight. I mean, it's,
Yeah, you're bringing your drone on this trip, right?
Well, the footage that you get is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean,
is there any real quick question? Sorry, before I forget. Are there any legalities in terms of you can't fly a drone on the same day as you can hunt?
So it depends on the state.
Right, but I was saying specifically Alaska. I didn't know.
Yeah. So normally, I'll tell the safety trick here for anyone wanting to, having the look behind the curtain. Normally, I don't fly until the tag is filled.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. That's what we do usually.
Yeah. So when you're,
there's no confusion whatsoever about using the drone for any illegal hunting activity or anything. So good rule of thumb.
Especially for this hunt. I mean, it's a migratory animal in a vast open area, and you have a device that has 3 to 4 miles of range. Seeing over the next ridge, hypothetically, is as easy as lifting
Oh
off.
yeah, exactly.
So it's just one of those things that, it's just the easiest way to do it is we're going to go hunt hard and put an animal on the ground and then get all the aerial coverage to tell, the
Maybe two if we're
spaces and
lucky.
places.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, and yeah, I just want to say too, like, so just for listeners' sake, like, I barely know Jon either.
we had one, coincidentally enough, the only time we spent 3 hours together.
Yeah. Luke was picking me up from the airport, and you were just randomly in the car, and then, and you were heading off to another trip. You guys had just shot a hunt together, and it was like we were all in transit between hunts. And I could just tell right off the bat, I was like, oh, this dude's cool. I could work with him. And so it worked out. So looking forward to it,
and
man.
it was, I don't, looking back on it, we were in Idaho, and the only thing that is just hilarious to me is our first meal together just happened to be caribou burgers from Luke's
no way.
the previous year. So
I did not even remember that.
Yeah, so we broke bread and we ate Alaskan caribou burgers together.
Which is the caribou that Luke shot on the Go Hunt film that you can go watch if you want.
Absolutely. So yeah, sometimes the camera guys get to shoot, and sometimes we're good at sharing meat with each other because it's pretty rare that we someone lets us, like Hunter or Go Hunt lets us have a tag in our pocket as well.
I mean,
so
the way I see it, I can shoot video too, and if we can fill 2 tags, that's just a cooler episode, and it's
Absolutely.
good for you, and hey, why not? So
and
my only thing is, can we fit
level,
all this stuff in a pack raft and get out of there and not die?
we're gonna have to talk to the head man here about gear, packing, and I'm sure there's about half a dozen things on my list that just through this conversation are gonna have to be revised given his knowledge.
Yeah. So okay, so Jeremy, have you hunted this area or even areas? Okay, you hunted this area, this river.
I have. Yep.
Okay, cool. So you know about the conditions and that kind of stuff, right? Pretty much. Yep. You've hunted it a lot. So, I do want to ask you some stuff like that about just gear. And the first begging question I have is, I was just watching the Hush video, and then I know where they are. I'm not going to say where they are, but I know where they are. And they said, I'm not dropping any bombs here. It's on their video. They said we're 60 miles in. So I looked at OnX and looked at where 60 miles in is. Do you think we can get to that area? Because it looks good.
So I'll tell you, it depends on the day, time of year. I think you're the 23rd.
The last week of August.
23rd through 30th. So here's,
and it's not like some secret spot, guys. It's just where a part of the river, the terrain changes, basically. It's not like some secret honey hole, but it looks. I think it'd be like more beautiful and kind of cool if you get hunting around the mountains,
So it's about a 2.5-hour boat ride, and it's getting up there on the Ivashak River, and
there it is.
The water is the biggest piece, right? So the Ivashak and the Echuca River are both glacier fed out of the Brooks Range. And water will fluctuate between 3 inches and 7 feet in hours. Yeah. Depending on what's happening in the range.
So, just out of curiosity, you're cool with just dropping the names of the rivers, huh? On air, publicly?
Well, that's where we hunt. I mean, it's on our website. It's on our Facebook page.
Okay. I just making sure, because down here, people are so tight-lipped about,
Those are the 2 river systems that we transport on.
Yeah. Okay.
It's on everything I have.
Just making sure, man.
And to be frank, man, I have 150 river miles to play with, right? So, at the end of the day, we have the ability and flexibility to drop in different locations as long as it's safe to land the boat, and that's the big piece.
Yeah.
Now, everybody thinks, it's an airboat, you can skim over what you want, and that's a true statement, except for it costs thousands of dollars to replace the bottom of an airboat, and I prefer not to do that every year.
For sure.
So, we try not to skim rocks and all of that.
Right.
So yeah, there's a possibility of being able to get you that far in. It really depends on water. And then the kicker is we have to think about coming back.
The exit,
which you're floating out, right?
So would that be treacherous up there?
There's a possibility that you don't have enough water to float out on. Right? So I can skim 4 inches of water on step at 35 miles an hour with 5,000 pounds in the boat. That's not a problem. You're not floating 3 inches of water with 400 pounds in a pack raft, right?
Yeah, probably not.
I may have enough water to get you in. you may not have enough water to get out. One,
Right.
and then even if you weren't floating and we were doing a traditional trip where I was coming back to get you, we have to calculate that in kind of as well, and it fluctuates because there's been times that we've dropped clients and had to have them walk a mile or two down the riverbank because I can't get back to them
Right.
because the water's dropped so much, or we have to flux and hope the water raises, which isn't something I typically do. I try to get everybody in and out on the day they need to because I've got follow-on clients coming in, right?
Yeah.
So when you start getting close to the brooks on the Ivashak River, it starts to get a little bit hairy when it comes to
Yeah.
water.
Could you potentially drop us off in a like reasonable distance? Because here's the thing, we're going to be basically decked out in hiking, like ultra. I'm going to go as light as I can because we're floating out. We're not taking like big camp stoves in and all this junk.
Yep.
We're going to be in like backpacking gear. So I'm wondering if we could get somewhere even close enough where we could potentially, hey, let's say we grab one of our shelters and just go for 2 days or something, like hike over there.
Yeah.
But not, I know it's different on the tundra than here, but
Yeah, we should be able to do that. And that's honestly a conversation with Hook when you get on the ground.
yeah.
When we pick you up, start chatting. Hook's not going to be the one that'll pick you up from the airport. I've got team members up there that'll do that. That'll pick you up in Prudhoe Bay and bring you down.
Yeah.
But have that conversation with Hook. Let them know where you want to go. We're a transporter, right? So at the end of the day, we're obligated to get you where you want to go. Now, I do have locations on the river that we identify as safe, and I can get you close to.
Sure.
If you showed up on the 23rd and said, "Hey, I've got this grid. Can you get me there?"
Yeah.
I'm a transporter. I'm going to do what I can to get you there, but I have to be concerned for your safety, my safety,
absolutely,
boat,
and
right? That's that piece.
Yeah, and that's our obviously first priority as well. I want to get home to my children.
Yes.
Killing a caribou is not that important, but
I've got
ahead.
one. This is a good, I guess, probably a good question from a newbie standpoint. Someone that hasn't gone up and done the tundra before. One of the things you learn the hard way anywhere you're hunting is like, what's the easiest way to cover distance in that scenario? In yours, like if we're talking about what Hunter's alluding to doing a spike camp scenario, is it, hey, just follow the river, stay on the rocks, get up? Talk to me about the easiest way to cover miles up.
Good question.
Tundra.
So you can follow the river, but once you get into the tundra and start heading away from the tundra, the easiest way to cover miles is slow. All right. and I say that I really do. So the tundra is a great equalizer, right? I've got young guys that have come up there that want to get after it, and they want to get out, and they want, see caribou a mile or two, and they're going to get ahead of them, and they're just going to go. The harder you push against the tundra, the harder it pushes back. You've got it's like smoking meat, man. It's slow and low, right? Like just
that's good advice, man.
Steady pace, right? You're not kicking your own fourth point, trying to, because you've got tussocks. Once you get a little bit away from that river, now you've got tussocks and you've got little water pockets and ankle rollers and all that fun stuff that you're fighting with. And obviously, when you're moving fast, you're not paying attention to where you're stepping, which causes issues, right? So a good steady pace. And you're never going to chase caribou. They move and graze at about 10 miles an hour, between 10 and like 12 miles an hour.
Wow.
So they may not look like they're moving quickly, but they're moving much faster than you're moving. And much faster than you're going to.
Dang, they graze at 10 miles an hour? That's how fast I run, like on cement.
Correct. Yeah.
For miles. That's crazy.
Yep. They move quickly. No,
I'm sorry. 6 miles an hour, not 10 miles an hour. I run 6 miles an hour.
There you go. I was gonna say you're in good shape, man.
No, I do not run 10 miles an hour.
You're in like sheep shape.
Did the math wrong.
10 miles an hour.
6 miles an hour, I slipped it, but still, that's insane, man. So, okay, that's really good advice. I need to take that to heart because I tend to get in the zone, just let's get there. But at the same time, caribou, they could come through at any moment, anywhere. So you should be kind of looking where you're going as you're going anyway.
Correct. So you're in rolling country, and it looks flat, and it's going to look flat. But there's those little valleys and divots and things like that, right? So you may be watching a caribou, and then it disappears for hours.
Yeah. It's like antelope on the prairie, man.
Correct. And then all of a sudden, they're there.
Yeah.
And you have no idea where they were or where it went or what it looked,
Yep, I know that with
it's just,
antelope on
they'll
the prairie.
find that little crevice that just takes them out of eyesight.
Yep.
And then they'll move in it for a little while and they'll pop up out of nowhere.
That's cool. That's
So I've got some rough now. I might bounce a few newbie questions in there just because
That's
I'm
okay.
fascinated.
Yeah,
I'm
bring
getting
it.
excited about it. So we're talking about them grazing. What are they grazing on? Is it the same where like a north-south facing hill? Like, is there things that you can key in on their grazing patterns as we're out there, or is it pretty random?
It's pretty random.
Yeah.
You're in their migration path.
Good question,
right?
though.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
You're in their migration path. Migration path is however many miles wide. It depends. Their primary migration path for their breeding grounds is on the east side on that river system. And they're after calving or to move after breeding, to move back north. They're more so on the west side. Now they do move west side of and I'm stating west side of the road, right? So the Dalton Highway. They do move on both sides. You guys are hunting east side of the road. That's their primary migration path and has been for last 28 years, 29 years, right?
Wow.
So,
is this the 40-mile herd?
No, this is the Central Arctic herd.
Okay, so what subspecies are they?
They're barren ground.
Okay.
Yep. So they all start up north, right? So there's 3 herds up by Prudhoe Bay. You've got the Western Arctic herd, the Central Arctic herd, and then the porcupine herd. The porcupine herd runs much farther east, more so in like the National Wildlife Refuge area.
Okay.
Over there. The Central Arctic herd runs that pipeline corridor for the most part.
Yeah.
And then the Western Arctic herd is significantly out west. Another, like if you went off the Dalton Highway, give or take 50 miles, you'd start getting into Western Arctic herd pieces. Okay. The cool thing about it is when these migrations all start, there is a point where all 3 herds will touch. And all 3 herds they'll fluctuate numbers a little bit, right? Now, the Central Arctic herd of the 3 is much smaller. We're looking at about 40,000 caribou. We cap that herd at about, give or take 50,000 before you start to run into issues with food source and room and so on and so forth. Right?
Oh, so the carrying capacity is 50,000, and you're saying it's about 40?
Yeah,
that's good.
We're sitting at about 40.
Right?
So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, no.
So they're doing 80%. Okay, right?
Yeah, they're doing really well. So they've climbed every year. Yep, herd's doing really well.
That was my next question. How's the herd doing?
Yep. It's doing really well.
That's great.
You'll see, like if you Googled the Central Arctic herd, you're gonna see. I think it's a report from the last report that the Department of Fish and Game published, unless they published something recently, was from around the 2015 timeframe when they took a significant dump, and that was when it used to be Alaska residents could harvest 4 caribou, and non-residents could harvest 4 caribou.
Wow.
In 2015, there was a massive failure in the herd. There was some disease. There was old cows that died. There was a bad calving season, right? And it took a punch to about 15,000. And so everything dropped to 1 caribou tag per resident, non-resident. And that herd has climbed over the last couple of years. They've changed it so residents can harvest 4 now. And honestly, the regs just came out. And I haven't looked, and I don't think the non-resident tag changed this year. I think it's still at 1. Yeah. But as we continue to climb over the years, you'll start to see the non-resident tags will pick up.
Wow.
Or they should pick up, and that's the recommendation of Fish and Game.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear that they're doing well, because I feel like all you hear is like doom and gloom from like, oh, they're shutting everything down. But what were you gonna say, John?
So they're closing a lot of areas, and so that unfortunately starts to bust into our area because we are in state land, and it's all, unlike a lot of the areas that you guys probably hunt here in the lower 48 or that we're familiar with, there's not, when you come down here, especially like Texas where I am now, right? Like 2% of the state is public land.
Oh, jeez. Oh, frick. All right, we've been having some storms here. I lost them. I got to get them back. So guys, sorry, we just lost power, and Jeremy was joking me. But anyway, so you were talking about when we left off something 2%. What were you saying?
Talking about the public and state
The
land.
public and state land, and
Yeah.
We were talking about how the herd's doing and stuff.
So it's doing good. Like I said, we've seen an increase in people hunting up there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an expectation. And I'll tell you, since 2018, and I don't know if you've read our website or looked through like all the documents. I have an extreme. You're like, nah, I'm not reading all that.
I've been pretty busy.
So I have a lengthy document, which is for planning purposes for caribou, and I think it's like 18 pages long, and it covers all kinds of stuff. Right?
That would be good to read.
My very first paragraph is like an expectation management, and I've had to kind of update that as we go because we're starting to see more people up there, and so it used to be you may see a few, and now it's been we're seeing more, and and it's been hit and miss. Some years are really bad, others are really good, and we don't see a lot. I don't know what this year is going to look like. They just recently closed one of the units for the year. Down south, so we may see more starting to come north.
So is it a quota? Like once they hit the quota, the unit's closed?
It's so it's not. There's a projected quota. I think for the
last time we went, we kept having to call into this hotline and stuff. And
so that's the 40. Yep, that's the 40-mile herd. So for us, it's not. There is a number that they would like to take out of the herd every year, and if I remember correctly, it's somewhere between like 1,500 and 1,800 caribou.
Okay.
But we haven't hit that number since at all. Like that zone in general hasn't hit 1,800 or 1,500 or even close to that in the 6 years I've been in business. And even before that, that number's just not hit.
So you're saying overall the numbers are pretty good in this hunting area. There's other places where it's kind of hurting, but this area seems pretty good. It's not quota, so we don't have to worry about it shutting down on us. And but you've been seeing, like you said, it's hit and miss. Obviously, caribou, like I said, it's random. But so it seems like you guys, have a pretty high success rate of at least opportunity or at least seeing animals and stuff, which is good.
We do. So we average around an 80% success rate.
That's pretty good.
Very rarely does anybody come out of the field and haven't seen anything. Now it happens, and that's just, that's migration hunting. Like, you could go out there.
Happened to me on my first trip.
Yeah, you could go out there for a week,
spot.
honestly, and hunt hard and not see anything. And that's a reality, and that's that back to, I don't control the caribou and I don't control the weather.
For sure.
I put you in what we think is
that's just hunting
area. Yeah, and that's just hunting.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. I understand that. That's not an issue. That's hunting. It's just the way it is. But 80% is good, and honestly, I'd be stoked just to get in there. And if we saw a bunch of animals, I think we'll have a good shot. But I've been on my first trip ever. We went to a really good spot. We sat there 4 days, I think, at least one and a half of those in the tent because of rain and fog. But 4 or 5 days in one spot, we saw one caribou sprinting out the other direction, a pretty decent bull, the day before the opener. Like literally just full trot. I have on my phone. Never saw another animal in the area, and there was, the sign was so thick you literally couldn't take 2 steps without stepping in caribou sign. And so they were there, we had just missed them. Second spot, we actually saw some animals and had a few we could have killed, but we weren't. Long story short, weren't 100% sure they weren't cows or small bulls, so we didn't end up pulling the trigger. In retrospect, I'm like pretty sure one of them was a small bull. Wish I'd shot it, but whatever. You live and learn. So anyway, I've experienced a slow caribou hunt for sure.
I'll tell you, with Alaska, it's better to be safe than sorry. If you're questioning whether it's a cow or a bull, don't pull it.
Yep. That's what my buddy, because my buddy had been on a trip the previous year where our mutual friend had shot a cow on accident, and he said it was the worst experience ever, and so he was kind of scarred from that.
Yeah, it's definitely better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
So on that topic, naturally, we're talking end of the trip. Easy indicators when you're looking at a herd through a spotter. What are you doing to identify the mature animals versus not just female, mature versus.
That's a good question, but I would like to ask you on the male female question, because I know the regs say like look for quote unquote a penis sheath, but sometimes that's very hard to see, especially on younger bulls. So I don't know. I'd like to hear both your takes on both those questions.
Yeah. So honestly,
Good question.
regulation, right? Look for a penis sheath if you can, or pay attention to how they're peeing. If you can hold tight and see, but both bulls and cows have antlers,
Right.
and so once you get bigger bulls or past that cow stage, right, you start to get that a deep C curve in the antlers and that
Yeah.
shovel. Cows won't have that shovel, but when you're looking at young bull versus young cow, it's very hard to tell. And so that's that you got to follow them for a little while and wait for them to pee or.
So how do the males pee? You may have already said it, but how do the males pee versus the females?
The same. One comes out from underneath, right? So the penis sheath, that's that from underneath where cows have the two holes on the back. So cows will pee back up, right?
That makes sense.
But that was the only thing that I knew was the directional.
Hopefully you guys are watching on YouTube. You saw the hand gestures.
Either your spotting scope is set up and you're paying attention, or you miss it. It's quick, and you're like, well, shoot, I didn't catch that. So
basically, we should just wait for a bull that's mature enough to be like, that's definitely a bull.
Yeah, and I would tell you that you can look up pictures and YouTube videos, and you'll be able to see the difference.
Oh yeah, I mean the mature ones are pretty obvious, but coming on day 6 or 7 and one runs by that could be a cow, you're thinking.
I would tell you to pass if you think if there's anything in your head, if there's anything in your head that thinks it's a cow, pass.
It's not working. For sure. Yeah.
So Hunter, you were talking about your first experience, and you were like, "Yeah, the sign was hot; they were just there." As we're going through the week, let's say in a perfect scenario, we're seeing multiple waves. Is there any timing or cadence between if a wave comes through and it could be you could have another group in 20 minutes and 2 hours.
Yep. You could see 100 right now, not see another animal for 3 days, see some solo bulls or a group of bulls or just a group of cows or no. So they start migrating.
No rhyme or reason.
Right.
I love it.
This herd starts migrating the middle of July, and they don't hit their breeding grounds until October. So they've got somewhere, July, August, or somewhere. So they've got like 3.5 months to make it 190 miles south.
And so they're just like move and eat enough to keep living and move.
And weather patterns change, right? So keep in mind you're 65, give or take 65, 70. You may be a little bit farther depending on where we're at, where we drop you. But you're no farther than 100 miles from the Arctic Ocean. And so weather patterns change. You're in that cool little bubble of the Brooks Range in the Arctic Ocean, and that weather pattern shifts from day to day, right? Wow. I've seen snow in the beginning of August. I've seen 55-degree temperatures in September. It's
Alaska, baby.
It is 100% Alaska. You will see. You may see
very much Alaska.
You may see 4 seasons in 2 days.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere,
and this is the latest and farthest north I've ever gone in Alaska. So we'll be actually going into the beginning of September, which is a big difference from the first or second week of August.
Absolutely.
And also going to be farther north. So could you speak to kind of like that a little bit?
Yeah. So as we shift, obviously shifting in September-ish season, that transition, you guys will probably see more rain than those earlier hunters were. You might see some snow. Averages are like 25 to 30 during the day. You might see some 40s and 50s. And again, there's that fluctuation. I've seen first week of September, I've seen 2, 3, 4 days of 55 degrees and sunny, which is insane. You shouldn't be seeing that. And I've had 1.5 inches of snow on the ground the 1st of August. And so, but traditionally you're in that shift. So you're going to have wind and rain, maybe a little bit of sleet coming into that, a little bit of fog. You've lost some light
Yeah.
So with about the time that you guys are coming, you're probably going to be sitting, if I had to guess, I'd say probably around 18 hours of daylight, maybe 15
So
to
getting
18
dark
hours.
around like 11, 10:30, 11 at night, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like
Yep.
that. Whereas the early season hunters are 24 hours of daylight, right? And
Dude,
so
that sounds nice. And probably the tundra will be
I'm
turning
thankful.
orange a little bit.
Yeah.
Do
you
you think?
might, yeah, you'll catch some of that.
That would be beautiful.
Yeah. So
It's be a totally different experience. Like every other time I've been to Alaska has been like pretty lush green, like almost basically summer still with a little bit of wet weather starting.
yeah.
So I did Kodiak in like first or second week of August, then I did that first one, and it was pretty nice weather. So this would be a cool new experience. What were you gonna say, John?
I was going to, obviously, like with weather that fluctuates that much, I'm always excited. I always want to dial in, or in any type of hunt, you want to dial in your most well executed plan on the best weather day. So, what is the best weather? Like when going to bed or
There is no
forward to the
plan.
next
You just
day
wait for
or
a
wake
caribou to
up.
walk by.
So
But,
caribou will move. If it's raining and cold, caribou will move. That's that
Okay.
piece, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
Those super sunny days, they will stagnate a lot of times.
Good to
But
know.
that rainy, windy,
The hardest stuff to film in is the best time to go.
absolutely.
Yeah,
But
that
they
sounds
move.
great.
They still move pretty regularly, even when it's hot.
Yeah.
But we see a lot of. But there's no, and we haven't been able to pick up on a pattern for stagnation either, right? That herd will stagnate and stop out of nowhere. It happens a couple of times every season. I don't know why they do it. We haven't been able to figure it out. It's been all different weather patterns. There's just something about they get comfortable wherever they're at and they stop.
Interesting.
And that's that
Surplus of food or whatever it may,
yeah,
maybe
they hit
just
a
higher
pocket,
protein quality or something.
something. I haven't been able to figure it out.
Micronutrients.
But that's that, that
Gut
occasional, I get people that'll hunt for a week and not see anything. And and typically if you guys aren't seeing anything, and nobody else up there is seeing anything, and there's another Arrowhead Outfitters is up there and they fly out and they're not seeing anything. So it's like the whole region
Just shuts down.
stops.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. There isn't a caribou to be seen. And then all of a sudden there's caribou. And I haven't been able to figure it out. None of us have.
Okay.
It's just one
You
of
just
those
got to
things.
outlast and just stay there as long as possible.
Correct.
How long do your normal groups go out for?
So our hunts, when we transport in and out, are 8 days.
Okay.
So an example is like a Friday to a Friday. So
Yep.
travel day in, because we're not a fly-in service, our clients can hunt the same day they hit the ground. So for you guys, right,
nice.
You'll fly up to Prudhoe Bay, you're flying commercially, we pick you up, we get you to the boat launch, we get you out on the ground, and you can hunt right off the bat.
Sick.
The lost day really is the travel day back, because we try to get our clients early morning. Because we have to get them back to the boat launch, allow them the opportunity to get their
meat and stuff
their
taken
caribou,
care of.
their caribou deboned, meat taken care of into Prudhoe Bay.
You have to have like an entire 24 hours at the end of one of these hunts to like get the stuff back right and do it well.
Right. So you're getting about 6.5 days out of an 8-day hunt is really what you're looking at. 6 solid days of hunting though.
Which that back end is shortened for us even more, depending on our how deep we drop in on the float time.
That's true. That's true. But
and really, you're gonna float. Even if I dropped you as far as I can get you, I think you'd float for maybe a day.
Yeah, like I was looking at a 35-mile float would only take what, like 6-8 hours theoretically.
Yeah, as long as you don't run into any significant issues with having to drag your boats across rocks or pick it up and move. Right, as long as you've got good water, I think a day, good 7-8 hour movement, you'd be okay.
In worst case scenario, if we had to finish, pull out the tents one night and finish it the next morning, one extra day in Alaska.
Yeah,
but we had to time that out, honestly. But we have a pretty good amount. Let's see, what do we have? We actually land on the 23rd. So, theoretically, if we don't catch any weather.
So you guys are flying in on the 23rd.
We leave on the 22nd and we arrive at 7:30 a.m. at Prudhoe Bay on the 23rd.
Okay.
So, we could have that much time, if not more, if we had to, maybe, depending on where we were. So
Yeah.
we should be good. Take lots of extra
I think
food.
you'll be okay. Yeah.
And
That's the thing. Make sure you have food.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have. I was just planning on like backpack food because we're not bringing, like I said, we're not bringing stoves and coolers and stuff. I'm just gonna bring, like, if it was a backcountry trip, like freeze dried stuff and a little stove, and do that, and make sure I have I'll probably bring like 10 days of food just for in case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd be ready for that, John, too, and pretty good amount of calories in there, not just like one mountain house or something.
So bring fish, and that is. Bring fishing poles with you.
I was going to ask you about that, the fishing. Yeah. Okay, wait, great segue. I want to hear about fishing, and are there ptarmigan?
Yes, to both.
A lot of ptarmigan?
Yes.
Okay, so we should definitely bring like a 22 or something.
I would recommend it.
We are doing that. I love ptarmigan.
Yeah. Yep, ptarmigan are good. Your late season, you're going to get into char.
Ooh.
I tell you, on your float out or even back in that pocket, there's some great char pockets back there. Grayling are in the river on a regular basis, so you'll do well. And if you've never fished for grayling, it's like fishing for rainbow trouts or brown, right? So spoons, spinners, floating flies. Bring multiple colors with you because they're finicky. So you'll be slaying them on a pink spinner, and the next thing you know, nothing happens, and you change to yellow, and now you're slaying them again. Like, they're that picky.
Wow. Is there a scenario where we could potentially fish basically right next to our camp? Like, if I don't know, if the day
I'm dropping you off at the river,
so we can do whatever we want.
Stay at the river or walk 50 miles in.
Yeah. Are there?
I gotta get into the transporting business. This sounds like a no strings attached type scenario.
Well, right. Once you're on my boat, your strings are attached. Once you're off my boat, you're right. There is no strings attached.
Especially for us, because he's not even coming to rescue us if we,
I know it.
I'm sure if I called a Hail Mary, you wouldn't just leave me out there to die, right?
No, you'll have our information.
I'm just kidding.
And that's that. So that segues it. I'll segue for a second into inReaches, right? So we communicate by inReach.
Oh, yeah. I got mine ready to go.
Right? It's a satellite text messaging system. It works very well up there. Occasionally, due to the weather, we get some lag in the text messages, but that's how we communicate. So, So we'll have all that information. We'll have your inReach. Hook, before you leave the boat launch, is going to make sure that you've at least sent a text message to the our
for sure
boat launch.
We will definitely get your inReach stuff. Absolutely.
You've got that communication piece. So if something happens, obviously, if it's an emergency, you've got the SOS, hit it. Right. But if you float past the boat launch or something goes on and something happens that you can't continue your float, let us know. We'll come get you.
That's nice, man. I appreciate it. It's nice to have that. We're not completely alone out there, So, but we'll definitely get your info. Yeah. Absolutely. But I want to go back to the other fishing and hunting kind of opportunities out there, because that's really cool. So, I know with a hunting license you can shoot ptarmigan. I'll check the limits, but that's amazing. And what you said with the fishing, dude, we should even. I mean, it'd be cool to even just intentionally, if we had time, if Lord willing, we get blessed and fill some tags. Maybe take a extra day as we float and fish as we go. Or just kind of enjoy it.
Oh, outstanding. Yeah,
we got time.
I mean, I spent the entire day fly fishing. Grant, I probably wouldn't bring a fly rod up there because I actually like to catch fish and not just, feel good about myself trying. Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so we should definitely bring rods, dude. We have to.
Yeah.
Or at least one.
Yeah, just, one good box of, like you said, good box of spinners, a little bit of extra line. That would be outstanding.
Okay, so.
And you don't need anything, but keep in mind, you don't need anything heavy, but keep in mind that you can get into some char that are pretty good sized.
Okay.
So, if you bring a light action with 6 pound test, you're going to have a good fight getting into char, right? So bring a collapsible pole with, I'd say, 10 to 12 pound at least, if you're going to go after char. Now, if you're just going after grayling, nice light action, and if you snag into a char, it's always fun with a light action pole to play, especially with river fish, but it gets a little hairy.
So you said a lot of ptarmigan. So it's good ptarmigan hunting?
It is.
That's cool. I've been to places with ptarmigan, but I've never been somewhere with tons of them, I don't think.
Yeah, and you might actually be in the in the time frame for berries as well.
It's gonna be
Looking at
awesome.
the calendar here, you might be on the backside of berries, but
Which raises the question: grizzlies. Should
yep.
I
So
bring a
they're there.
Yeah.
sidearm or a spray?
You can. It's up to you. Me personally, I don't ever go out without one, without a sidearm. But that's just me. You don't have to. You can bring spray if you want. We've never had issues with Grizz as far as like with clients. I have had a couple incidences where meat has been stolen from, tundra brush or meat
Mm-hmm.
poles. If you can build a meat pole, and I've had clients that have built meat poles just by wash down from wood
Oh,
on the
nice.
river. Um, it because it's so flat, and that's the only thing I can really think about. Because there's no cover, your grizzlies really don't want anything to do with you, just like you don't want anything to do with them, right?
Yeah,
So as long as you're not trying to pet them or take close pictures and do all the shenanigans,
of
stay away
course.
from them. They're gonna leave you alone.
So they're
Um,
polite grizzlies because they
yeah,
know that they're hunted
yeah.
Yeah.
probably.
I think there's just no cover for them, so it makes them uneasy to move
Yeah.
in. Your scent's there. Keep your meat close to camp, right? So don't put it 200, 300, 400 yards away from
Yeah,
camp.
that's just inviting problems.
That's inviting them to
Yeah.
come, right? Keep it close to camp.
Yeah.
And then just normal routine maintenance on your camp, right? Keep your food put away and just all the normal things that you would do, and you shouldn't run into any issues at all.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I've had a little bit of experience with grizzlies only in Alaska, never the lower 48 ones, which I think are
Yeah.
probably more dangerous because they're not allowed to be killed. But that's a separate issue. But yeah, every time I've seen them, they're like, they have any idea you're there, they're gone. And
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
so, that's cool, man. I'm getting pumped, dude, just about the whole thing. Like, just hearing about it, like, it's gonna be an awesome trip, I think.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Okay,
Whether
so
you harvest animals or not, man, I think you're gonna
oh,
enjoy it.
dude, it's gonna be an amazing
Yeah.
experience. Even if we just kill ptarmigan and catch some fish,
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
see some caribou, it would be a sick trip. But
yeah.
okay, I do have a couple gear questions, like kind of rapid fire. So we're talking about we're in this transition time. You think a 15-degree bag will still do it, or should we spring for the 0?
If you haven't bought a bag yet,
I
I'd
have
tell you.
15 and a 0, so
Oh, okay. Um, I think you're 50. It depends on you. Do you run hot? Right? Like for me, I run hot, internal like core temperature, right? So
yeah,
for me, a 15-degree bag would work just fine. If you're cold routinely, your 0 degree is probably what you're gonna want, and that way you can peel it off of you if need be.
yeah. I usually
Um,
like to like you can always sleep in your puffies too. I mean, and
you
the
can,
bag, yeah,
Yeah.
that's usually
absolutely.
pretty.
I think your 15 would be fine.
Yeah,
But it just depends on your personal preference and what you, again, back to if you're cold routinely or easily cold, or
yeah.
if you're if you run hot, and that's
Is
the difference.
is there enough washdown to be a legitimate fire source? Not for like a bonfire, but like a small cooking fire or something.
Uh,
Kind of a random question, but
yeah, yes and no. You may have to walk a little ways for it.
okay. Yeah, we'll find some.
Right?
But
But
it's
I
not
tell
like a
you,
lot, like substantial
no,
amounts everywhere. Okay.
no.
Yeah.
You can burn tundra brush. Find some of the dead tundra brush. Everything's wet for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're up there and you're blessed and it's been sunny for days, which doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Um,
And the caribou might be moving.
right. So tundra brush will burn, but it takes a lot to get it going.
Yeah. Okay, so waders or some type of over boot or hip boots or something. What do you think? Or
Uh,
just hiking boots, good hiking boots.
so I think good hiking boots and a pair of gaiters would be fine.
Okay.
Waders, that's up to you. I can
If
tell
you
you
were going to go
personally,
hunting for
I don't.
8 days
I
back
would
there, did you wear waders?
no.
Okay.
But I despise walking in waders
Me
because you
too.
chafe and right. So when you're
Yeah.
walking, so multiply that by 4, 5, 6 miles, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So a good pair of hiking boots and a pair of gaiters would work just fine.
Perfect. I'm glad you said that because I hate wearing waders too.
Me too. Yeah.
Um, let's see.
I got a quick one
Go
here.
for it.
It's my favorite one to ask, especially outfitters and guides. What do we need in what I would call our MacGyver bag? Random little things like, like whether it's duct tape, whether it's like, hey, like these are a couple things that might keep your camp together, especially in Alaska.
Yeah. So 550 cord, and I'd tell you a Bic lighter.
Always got
and then
those.
and then some sort of first aid gear. be it gauze or A-strap. I'd honestly tell you gauze and A-strap. Just
No,
for
what's that?
whatever.
A-strap, you said? What is that?
Like an
Ace wrap,
A-strap, the elastic
Oh,
wrap.
Ace wrap. Okay, I got
Yeah,
you, got you.
A-strap.
Okay. What? Okay.
And then uh, you duct tape never hurts, right? You can fix everything with duct tape.
Yeah.
Between
I
duct
like to
tape and
coil like
550
half a little roll around my like trekking pole. It's just always there.
Yeah. Yep. And then you know what I'm talking about with the 550 cord, right? The green
Oh yeah, yeah. I
paracord.
literally always have that in my
Yep.
gear.
Yep, always. I think that would pretty much suffice. Obviously, you're gonna have a knife on you. I would hope.
Multiples.
So yeah, right. So you've got knife between a knife, 550.
Come on, dude. This isn't our first hunt, man.
Look, knife, light.
I've been hunting all my life, bro.
Right? So, but that's really, I think that's about it.
Rifles.
Right? Between 550 cord and duct tape and a knife, you can fix damn near anything. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question though. I mean, because that is something I was talking. I did another podcast with Eric Chesser, one of the guys from Hush, who was on this one. I was just watching to get a feel for stuff, and he's kind of a buddy of mine, and he did bring two good points up, which I definitely am gonna take is a small like backpacking cot and like a glassing chair, because there's nothing to like sit on or like really sleep on. That tundra is so uneven and stuff.
Right. Yeah, that'd be good.
Anything else though that like kind of similar to John's question, but that like stuff that you wouldn't normally take on a lower 48 hunt, but like, oh, you kind of need this here kind of deal.
You need layers. That's important, right? And we've already talked about the weather, right?
Yeah.
So you may see everything from 55 degrees to, I mean, worst case scenario, you're looking at teens or single digits, right? If something blows in.
That would be gnarly.
But I tell everybody, if you're going to spend money, layers are easy to do. If you're going to spend money on anything, a solid pair of boots and wet weather gear. Hook swears by PVC, wet weather gear, right? Like, but it's loud. You're not going to
like the commercial fishing stuff.
Oh yeah, like the yellow PVC,
like Grundens.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. But if you don't have good wet weather gear, you're going to be wet, which means
like
you're cold.
He hunts in that stuff too, or just for driving the boat and stuff? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't hunt in it. But good wet weather gear is your key, because that's your saving grace. And it's always windy up there, and wet weather it protects you from that wind.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the things that like you must invest in for Alaska is like staying dry.
Right. Everything else is layers, and layers can to be honest, layers can come from Walmart. You don't need fancy stuff. Layers are layers, right? Yeah. Good layers, but invest in wet weather gear. Invest in good boots.
That's good advice. Good advice.
This is kind of unique to us versus the normal client, but obviously the extended stay out there, we're running all of our camera gear and everything off solar. You know, is it there going to be one sunny day? Is there going to be 2 hours of sun a day?
Could be none ever.
Yeah, it could be none.
But those solar panels actually charge pretty decent, even like in a fairly at least mine do. The Anchor ones charge pretty well in like overcast days anyway. And honestly, I bring like 10 A7S batteries. I never even really need solar. I bring a bunch of banks. I think,
and I thought about, and as we're starting to fill up our pack, and you're looking at 2 to 3 meals a day for 10 days. I mean,
that's a lot of food. That's 20 pounds of food at least.
Yeah. And so when we're starting, that is the number one thing that I'm trying to figure out. Camera batteries, monitor batteries, whatever it may be. Those are the easiest way to add 5 to 10 pounds and fill up a bag.
For sure. Well, the good thing is we're gonna, at least I think and tell me, Jeremy, if this, I think this is a good plan. Just we can carry a decent amount of stuff in as long as we're within the guidelines and set up a decent base camp pretty close to the river. Now, the thing to consider is we also have to float out with everything, which would be also meat, but we won't have 20 pounds of food. Theoretically, it will be meat anyway. We'll be down 20 pounds of food, but I got these alpaca raft Rangers to test, and they're like the biggest one they make, and
they carry quite a bit.
Yeah, I talked to the guys at Weatherby who also did this hunt, Luke over there, and they did it with the alpaca mules, and so. But anyway, long story short, I have on loan from Alpaca Raft a set of mules and a set of Rangers. I tested the mules. It seemed a little small for me, honestly. Like because I'm thinking about bringing the amount of gear. It's a pretty gear heavy trip, so I'm gonna have like a Yeti, like 100-pound Panga. 100-liter Panga, and a like 7,900 Stone Glacier pack, and hopefully be able to fit everything in there. I was gonna ask you, Jeremy. Do you think we could carry could I keep my pack raft out of because I know you have like guidelines of like I think it's one 120-liter dry bag and then
so
one. Could you cut us a little slack since we won't have coolers and stuff?
We can. What I ask is, obviously we're putting everything on a boat, so as condensed as possible, right? Yeah. So 120-liter bag. If your frame pack or your backpack can fit in there, great. If it can't, strap to it.
It won't.
Right.
I don't
think. And then if you need to peek, the alpaca rafts are not huge.
No, right? Even the Ranger is only like probably this big and like this big around.
Right. So if you've got a way that you can consolidate it all into one, right? So 120-liter bag, frame pack on top, alpaca raft behind that, zip tied or 550 corded too. So it's all one compact thing to put on the boat. That's easier.
Okay.
But we do the, that 70 pounds per person, but you're bringing your own gear. So without including the drop camp, we allow more flexibility when it comes to that.
Right. Okay. Cool. That'd be good. So yeah, I think
as long as you're not showing up with 500 pounds of crap, right?
No. Like I said, I'm very cognizant of the fact that I have to float out with the stuff, and I already had one. I had one scary experience with the pack raft and one very scary experience with the pack raft. So I'm like overly cautious, and I'm hopefully the water will be pretty chill.
You should be.
Sounds like it will be.
Yeah. You should be okay.
Yeah. Cool, man. There's one other thing I was going to ask. Do you have any other questions, John? We're coming up on an hour. I don't want to spend too much of your time here, guys, but I think that was most of the stuff I wanted to ask. Do you have any more questions, John?
Man, I think, one of the things that I love, anything, we talk gear, we talk specifications. I'm trying to drill you on getting strategy when the strategy is just embrace the chaos.
There's no strategy.
Just in your words, what's the beautiful thing about this hunt? What do you enjoy most about, this specific scenario? What makes it different? You're closest to it. What's the gemstone of this experience?
I think the gemstone of this experience is you're hunting a migratory animal, which doesn't really happen for most hunts, right? And so it is the strategy that doesn't exist. And that's the piece, right? You're going to Alaska, you've got great fishing, you've got beautiful country, and you really have to put the work and effort into finding the caribou. Now, don't get me wrong, they could walk right through your camp. You wake up in the morning to get up, brush your teeth, and go to the bathroom and shoot a caribou at camp. But that's not an unrealistic situation. And I've had plenty of people that have shot beautiful caribou standing at their camp door. Yeah. And I've had others that have had to walk 15 miles, right, to find them. It's that uncertainty of them being there and really having to put the work into a migratory animal that has so many variables based on weather, based on the distance they have to travel, based on, right? So it's really a whole balled up experience versus, sitting in a tree stand waiting on a buck that you've patterned for the last year.
For sure, dude.
Which I've never elk hunted, but elk hunting in an area where they're at, or trying to, I think it varies to that. It's almost like an elk hunt in essence, right? They're not a migratory animal, but you're walking all over God's creation trying to find the elk.
Yeah.
But the great part that I think that the part about caribou though is you may walk all over God's creation to find a caribou, and when you see it, it'd be gone as fast as he was there.
Yeah.
And now you're back to square one. So it's that whole experience of being up there and that uncertainty and not being able to pattern the animal.
So
it really puts your hunting skills to the test.
It's really enjoying the experience, realizing you can't really control it, but at the same time putting out maximal effort.
Yeah.
It's
really going to put your hunting skills to the test on that one.
Yeah, and that's kind of one reason why I liked getting in there closer to the brooks is because hopefully or that other spot I sent you a pin for that was like I think it was like 35 miles up. That just there's at least some topography to like at least have a vantage to like see as much as you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's big country up there, right?
Right.
And there's still topography. That's the crazy part. And until you're up there and get to see it, you don't quite realize how vast and how big the country is. I can take you straight off the boat launch 5 miles back, or you could walk straight off the boat launch 5 miles back across the tundra, and you're going to hit small hills of 100 feet, 200 feet, right?
Yeah.
Just and it's going to get you up. But from the road, it all looks flat.
Just like a sea.
Correct, until you're up there. And it is very vast. When you get into topography, as you're stating, it's big country, right? So you're really starting to get into climbing.
Yeah.
Though it's not mountainous.
Do you remember that pin
bigger hills?
Do you remember that pin I sent you that was like 35-ish miles in? And it was just like some really small little. Are those big?
They are.
Oh, really?
They're not as small as you think they are.
They look small.
Yeah, that's why I said when you get there, you'll think back to this and be like,
it's always bigger than it looks on the maps, no matter what. But Alaska is like next level.
It is correct.
Yeah.
So
that's cool, man.
The topography is hard to know until you've just been there. It's hard to look at on a map. It's hard to look at even on Onyx. Like Onyx is great. It's just hard to understand the vastness of it up there.
Yeah. We'd be able to see the brooks, like almost certainly, or it depends on if you're close enough.
No, you'll see the brooks.
You'll see them no matter what.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see it as soon as you leave Prudhoe. You can't miss it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Man, I'm looking forward to it.
Like, this is just just listening to it. I mean, obviously living in the world that we're in now of like YouTube and like the technical level of all different types of hunting, of elk hunting and calling and animal behavior, and like this is the most run and gun instinctual, like
the equalizer.
How you started out. Yeah, like how you started out hunting. You're like, oh, I didn't know how to use a mouth read. Like, I wasn't very good at reading the behavior. I was just using instincts, wind, whatever it may be.
Yep.
So I love, for as anal as we can get on stuff, I love the freedom that it's like, all right.
At the end of the day, it's on them.
Spot and stalk. Like that really is. It is.
That's it.
You work hard to find them, and then you work hard to stalk them. It is truly a good spot and stalk hunt. And that's it.
That's awesome, man. Well, it sounds like an amazing experience, dude. Yeah, it's going to be so cool. Just being in that environment at that time of year, seeing the seasons change, the migration hopefully coming through, the ptarmigan, the wolves. Do you see wolves pretty frequently?
Yes.
Okay.
Getting a shot at a wolf is a different story.
Right, for sure.
I honestly, this last year I had our first wolf harvested. Not the first person that's seen one, had lots of.
But first one actually got one.
First one harvested, and I'll tell you, it's worth it if
I have a tag already.
There you go. Put a tag in your pocket. I think we had this conversation, right? It's a $30
it's like $60 or something.
60, yeah.
Why
Throw
not?
it in your pocket, because the day that you don't have it is the day that you're going to see one and have
sure.
an opportunity to shoot it.
Well, here's a fun fact. Fun fact for you, Hunter. I've got a pretty high content wolf dog, and I've got some pretty good wolf calls out of it. So I might be able to call one in for you.
You're going to scare away the caribou, bro.
There you go.
I know. It'll be the third tag punched.
Okay, there we go. I like it.
Yeah.
All right,
There's
cool, man.
also a Wolverine up there. You might get an
Okay.
opportunity to see. I wouldn't put that tag in your pocket. I think it's a $350 tag.
Oh wow, yeah.
They're very sparse. They're hard to see, but we have had a couple people harvest Wolverines.
Wolverines. Wow.
But in the state of Alaska, you can use your caribou tag on subsequent tags.
Right.
So
But you can't use the wolf because it's cheaper.
No, because it's correct. So
Yeah.
you can't use the wolf tag on the Wolverine, but you can use your caribou tag. So
if it's of higher monetary value, you can use it for the lower.
correct. So our Wolverines that have been harvested were just that. They were in a hunting party that had harvested caribou. They used their tag to harvest the Wolverine. Everybody just shared some meat.
Interesting. Okay.
Is
See, I would never
Are
kill
there
a
any-
Wolverine over an ungulate if I had the choice. But that's just me.
But I mean, when have you ever seen a wolverine?
No, it's not that. It's just like I just value the animal and the meat so much more that it would just
no,
like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't. I'd be like,
yeah,
oh, cool, a Wolverine. I
yeah.
don't know.
Take a picture.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it's a cool
So
animal.
what all
just,
are this? What all are the species that your clients have punch tags on in this region? You know, obviously the equal or lesser value. Have we kind of gone through them? Are those kind of the
That's
core
it.
three?
Yep, that's the core three.
Yep.
You're too far north for black bear, though you may occasionally see them. They may get up there.
and
But
ptarmigan. Don't forget the ptarmigan.
Yep, ptarmigan.
Yeah.
Black bear's not
They're
worth your
delicious,
time.
dude.
And then you're gonna see grizz, but in the state of Alaska, you have to be guided as a non-resident for grizzly.
Yep.
Unless it's charging you.
Well,
that was a joke. That was a joke.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
joke. All right.
Let's not wish it.
Yeah, let's not open
You've
that
gotta-
Pandora's box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You've got a great hunting partner with a camera, so he might be able to prove that it's charging you. But
Right.
yeah,
But that's
than
like I was joking, but that is honestly like the worst case scenario because that is a hunt ending event and just a terrible. You don't want to kill a grizzly unless you're hunting them.
absolutely.
So anyway, but that was just a joke.
You'd get to see and hear from me a lot more as we went through the 3 months of legalese afterwards.
That's true. But no, it'd be in all seriousness, no, it'd be cool to see some grizzly. I hope we do and get some footage. But that'd be that. Hope that's all you want.
You should see some muskox while you're up there as well.
Oh, cool. That'd be
So
epic.
that'll be a good.
Very
experience.
cool.
Yeah.
Never any moose in this area, huh?
So towards the brooks, yeah, they just opened it up as a draw tag this last year.
Oh, it's a draw tag. Okay.
So it hasn't been opened in I think 10 or 15 years, but the moose
Is it a good hunt up there?
It's getting a little better. But it's more towards the brooks versus so if we can get you that 65 miles or 60 miles down Ivashak, you're going to be in some moose country.
Okay. So maybe one day if I draw that, you guys can take me up there for moose.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, cool, man. Well, like I said, I don't want to take too much of everybody's time, but thanks, Jeremy. And if you're booked pretty far out, but I guess if people want to reach you, what's the best way to find out about DeadHorse?
Yeah, so you can get us on our website, deadhorseoutfitters.com, or you can call me at 907-669-2280.
Giving your number on air. Brave man.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, give us a call. We'll chat. That's what I do.
Cool.
I communicate with people. So absolutely. And it's on our website as well.
It's a whole lot easier to book a hunt 3 or 4 years out versus getting those 8 to 10 years of points.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah. Good way of putting it, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, get your hunt in now, I guess. Or just don't so that I can go more.
Yeah. Well, our 2026 calendar opens the 1st of October. So
okay.
we'll start booking 1 October for 26.
Yeah.
I'll have just enough time to think about it. I'll put it on my calendar.
It'll be just enough time for you to be out of the woods and excited to book another one.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, it was good talking to you, dude. Thanks again, man.
As well.
Yeah. John, hang out for 1 second after so we can talk production nerd stuff.
Let's do it.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Appreciate you. All right, buddy.
All right. Bye. Catch you later. Great meeting you.
Yep. All right. You as well.